Hi, everybody. I'm Dennis Daly. I spent 20 years with United Press International, most of it with the old UPI Radio Network. And my favorite assignment was going on the road producing and hosting American Montage. It was an hour-long weekly program. Now here's an edited version of one of those shows. Well, hi, everybody, and welcome to this week's American Montage. Recognize this sound? It is the sound of the old-fashioned turnstile. Well, they've got a lot of new versions of it, some plastic, but the old metal turnstiles used to be at amusement parks and ballparks just about everywhere. When you enter the new museum called the Legends of the Game, part of the complex that is the baseball park, the new one in Arlington, you go through one of those old metal painted turnstiles, and behind it, one of the most fabulous baseball museums and learning centers you'll ever want to see. We went back to Arlington, Texas. You may remember our first trip there and to a great museum which is one of the world's best collections of sewing machines. Well, this time the topic is baseball on this week's American Montage. Cynthia Firestone is one of the people who shows a lot of people through the Legends of the Game at the ballpark in Arlington, Texas. As we went through, the first thing I mentioned to her is not only the ballpark itself, but the three-story museum dedicated solely to baseball and learning must have taken a lot of planning to have gotten off the ground.
It was planned from about 1991, and as far as the museum and the learning center are concerned, they were planned at the very beginning with the ballpark. It's gratifying to hear that everybody does think so. We're kind of the children of Washington, D.C., more than Baltimore is. So,
can you refresh people's memories about how all those, it's a complicated move that took place.
Well, now
I'm not even sure I can recount it.
I'm not that conversant either. There had been an ongoing effort for about 15 years in this area among the leaders of Fort Worth, Dallas, and Arlington, especially Arlington, to get a major league team here. And we courted other people and everything. But finally, the 71 season, I guess, wasn't going well for the Washington Senators, and Tom Van...
Neither was the 70 or the 69.
No, not have to be generous. But Tom Vandergriff was the mayor of Arlington at that time, and he convinced Bob Short to move here and to bring the Senators down here. So Turnpike Stadium existed. It was a minor league park. It had no outfield seats or anything like that, and it's where the Dallas-Fort Worth Spurs were the home team, and they were a Texas League team, and it was renovated from 71 to 95 different times to accommodate the Major League Rangers, as they came to be called, since they weren't the Senators anymore. Of course, Ted Williams came with the Senators that first year and was the first year's manager of the Rangers in 72 season.
So you had a heck of a tradition to start with.
There has been baseball in this area for 100 years. The Texas League was founded in the 1880s by John McCloskey. Fort Worth and Dallas at one time or another have had separate teams. They were different farm teams for the Cubs and the Brooklyn Dodgers. At times, Duke Snyder played here. I guess he's not a good name to bring up right now, but Sparky Anderson played here. Maury Wills has played through here. And there have been a lot of Rogers Hornsby played in the Texas League. There have been a lot of baseball players who have either been born in Texas and gone on to play in other major league teams in other parts of the country, or were well known as Texas League players throughout the last 100 years or so.
You know, I just had a thought that even though Dallas and Fort Worth have separate identities, now that the cities have grown out to almost meet each other, it's good to look back at a time when they had a very separate and distinct personality and actually psychologically were further apart than they are now.
Well, that's true. There are still rivalries. The biggest difference probably in this area is the fact that Arlington has grown to be such a major city. The population in the 1970 census was 20,007. Officially now it's 251,118, I think.
Actually, when they looked for a place for Six Flags, this was a very rural area at one time. I would think when the amusement park was first put there.
It was a small town. Arlington was just a little town, and even people who lived in the area didn't come to Arlington very much except to pass through. The turnpike was built out here. It was I-30 used to be a turnpike, and it was built to connect Fort Worth and Dallas in a quick way. And when Six Flags was thought of, when Angus Wynn thought of it, he wanted it to be in an area that was accessible to both people both in Fort Worth and Dallas. But of course, it was the original Six Flags, and I'm not sure how you explain Six Flags over Georgia and the other places.
apologize for sounding chauvinistic with a question, but I had expected for some reason a male guide at the museum, because I guess I fall into that trap of thinking that baseball is kind of a game for men and not for women. I asked Cynthia how she got interested in baseball and why she was chosen to represent the museum.
I married a man who loved baseball, and we started coming out here in 72 with the first Rangers season. I had gone to Texas League games with my dad at Turnpike Stadium years before that.
Well, with your accent, it's easy to tell you're not from Wisconsin.
No, I'm Fort Worth. Baseball's not so much a man's sport as some of the others. To me, it's easier and it's gentler and it's just a lot more fun. As far as falling into this wonderful job, it was just falling into it. It's just been a boon. I'm a former history teacher, and so I have that background, but working in the museum just came along as a gift to me, and it's just been great.
Cynthia, there is so much to see here, and we can only touch on just a little bit of it in the time we have. We've just come in the entryway through the turnstile. If you would, for those who are obviously only listening and can't see us, tell us the first things you see when you come in.
This area is called the Legends of the Game area. We have divided up this part of the first floor into areas that highlight defense, hitting for average, slugging, and pitching. On the ends of the cases that we have artifacts stored in and displayed in, we have the photographs and big cutouts of the best in their.
Now we should explain, these big cutouts are big cutouts.
At least double life size. But we have Jackie Robinson and Brooks Robinson highlighted for defense, and Roberto Clemente and Ty Cobb is hitting for average. The sluggers, of course, are Babe Ruth and Hank Aaron, and the pitchers are Cy Young and Nolan Ryan.
Why would you have of all people Nolan Ryan here?
That's such a stretch.
Interviewed him last year, by the way. Nice guy.
Oh, everybody says so. He's just been so generous to us too. He lent us an entire case full of artifacts for the Fan Fest over in Dallas for the All-Star Game Fan Fest, and it was a beautiful display.
What I can't figure out is that Nolan Ryan and I were born 16 days apart, and he's still in shape. Of course, I haven't been, well, maybe that's it. I haven't been throwing a baseball either. Here is a rack over here as we move along of baseball cards, and I must confess, I have never seen baseball cards that look like that. Those are not reproductions. Those are originals.
A great many of these, they started making baseball cards in the 1880s.
Long ago.
And they gave them out with tobacco products and candy products. And there are different types of reproductions here. Well,
let's move over here to the ones that are from the 1880s. They're obviously that sepia or brown-looking engravings. Some of them in color, 2 or 3 colors, very reminiscent in a way of the texture of postcards. I remember even from the 1950s. More kind of a hybrid between a photograph and artwork.
Some of these are color lithographs, and some are photographs mounted on heavy cardboard. Gradually, we have a few of the photogravure type, and gradually they gave way to the actual reproductions that we use today. Some of these, when they started putting in color, they would color tint a photograph the way they used to do. We've had some more players in recent years who are better known. Here's another one of these gold gloves. You might recognize the player above it is Ivan Rodriguez. Pudge is a nice young man. He's really a terrific fella. And we have other players here that people do know, people like Dean Palmer, players who have played here like Palmero and Franco and Canseco.
Well, now here's Nolan Ryan again, and now we're on the 3rd floor, and this is obviously a place for kids.
This is the Learning Center. This is a place where educational essential elements are fun, and we have it divided up into 5 areas: history and geography, math and science, and communications, and they all relate to baseball.
Cynthia, beautiful ballpark, nice place, legends of the game. Thanks for having us here.
Well, thank you for coming. Come back anytime.
Has set a new American League record with 7 consecutive pinch hits, and the Rangers scream out the dugout.
And there you have it, another edited episode of one of the American Montage programs prepared for the UPI Radio Network back in the 1980s and 90s. I'm Dennis Daly. Thanks for listening. Thanks for going with me this week. And check YouTube for more American Montage programs.